And the deadline, so the project is up and due in about a week. So what is this project? Just to remind you, it's typically a painting, but you can do something else if the TA or someone else has given you permission. So the assignment looks something like this. On Canvas. So what you need to submit is an HIO link to your Unity app. So that there's a video on how to do this on Canvas, and if there's not, I'll upload it shortly. It's not a difficult trick. A zip file containing your Unity code and a PDF file containing your a summary of your app and user flow, free user flows. And how does a typical project look like? Well, if you go here, let's open this guy. This is like a typical first project, painting focused first project. Okay. So plan for today is basically to get you up to speed on different sliders, buttons and drop downs and so on. I'll discuss this in about 20 minutes. I think we'll get there. Let me know, see if I've, yeah, so user flows is typically something that you can actually draw that looks like this. So for example, a painting flow will be like a left mouse button click and that will paint something. Change primitive is like a drop down. So you can see everything is kind of clear. So the diagram really helps understand what are the different flows. Any questions on the project before I kind of remind ourselves what we did last week? No? Okay. So, question? Sorry? No? Okay. So last week we had get mouse button and get mouse button down. So what is this? Well, if I change this to down, save, quickly remind, this is basically the code from last week, almost with no changes. So get mouse button down, basically I have to actually click to get some sort of signal. Otherwise, so I can like, it's like kind of like dot painting. So I have to change it to, and down is just continuously, get mouse button, just continuously detects if the mouse button is actually pressed. So that'll get you like a more kind of continuous kind of drawing brush like that. We also did rotation and scale. So rotation, let's see the code for that. Actually scale. So scale is kind of how you can you control like the size of the object in different axes, like either this is like the x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis, and this, for example, just changes the size of the objects to be to lie between 1.2 to 5.7, and this is just a random kind of number generator just to make it a bit more interesting. That's like scale, so it's basically just controls the size. If you want, you can also kind of control it from the console, from the scene view. So for example, if I click this guy, and you have the scale here, so you can just change it to be larger or smaller or whatever, like big, very big. And what else do we have? So we also did a rotation. Rotation is here. So rotation is basically how is the object rotated around each axis. And to understand this, you can just, again, go to our example here. Let's say this guy. So you have, for example, if you go into the scene mode and you click on this, so you can see the different axes in which you can rotate the object. So there's like this kind of rotation, and there's like this rotation, and there's like another one here. And like you can also rotate it kind of manually, like this could be like 0 and this could be 25 and so on. So you can do whatever. So that's like just the rotation. Last week we also kind of spent some time with colors. So to change colors, the script to the line that you need is the following. You need like your game object dot get component dot material dot color, and that will look like this. Where's that material? Yeah, so it will look like this. So here, for example, I'm setting it to be green, but I can change it to be, say, red. So this is like a free vector kind of item. So it's like red, green, and blue. So the first guy is red, second guy is green, third guy is blue, and it lies between 0 and 1. So now, like as I'm painting, this will be like fully red, and I can change it like to be, say, fully blue, like this. And it will now kind of in class, we'll just have sliders maybe to control those values. So that'll make it a bit more fun. So that's like blue. Okay, and what else did we do last week? We also talked about the sliders. Okay, so last week we created like this slider over here. So slider. So like to create a slider, I'll create one in a bit, but you can basically, after you create it, you can change it, you can move it around where you want it to be placed on the scene. You can also move it using this kind of inspector, so you can make it like wider or like skinnier and so on. You can also change all kinds of slider features. For example, you can change the color to be like red or black and whatever. Now, once you create this slider, which is pretty easy to do, like you just have to right click here at UI and let's just slider. So once you create this slider, let's put it up here. And you say you want to connect this to your code. So the way to do that, you actually, it's like a multi-step process. So let's use this slider just to maybe control the red amount when you're painting. So you need to basically here on this on value change signal, you need to connect it to some sort of function in your code. So the first thing you need to do is you need to create a function. Let's create a function. Public void set red amount. Okay, and this will be float red. Okay, and then like this function is something that receives a value and sets it in our painting app somehow. So let's create a public float red amount. Okay, and that will just set this red amount equals red. Okay. Now what we want to do, we want to use this red amount here in the where we kind of touch the color. So right now my red is hard coded to be 0, so I'm going to just swap it to be red amount. Okay, it was 0, swapping it to be red amount. Okay, so far I didn't do anything. I just wrote a bunch of code that doesn't really interact with the slider. Now I have to actually connect it to the slider. So to connect it to the slider, I need to click on the slider. Now you can notice, like every time you create a slider, it has the same name, slider. So if you say have 5 sliders, it will be pretty quickly confusing what each slider does. So let's change this to be red slider, red color slider. Okay. And now to connect it to our code, we need to click on the plus here under the inspector. You need to actually select the slider and click on the plus. And let's set it, okay, so now you see like there's like a none kind of object here. So this is the placeholder for where you need to drag your game object that has all your scripts. So to remind you, our script is in this file, but this file is connected to an empty that we called click manager. So kind of the short story here, you need to actually drag this click manager into this slot here on when you have this like on value change. So if you drag this here, And now, like after you did that, you need to actually select here, and where it says no function, you need to select that function that you created. So let's see, let's make it painting set red amount. Okay. And let's just set it to be by default 0.5, so it's kind of middle between 0 and 1. Okay, and let's save and see if everything is working, because this is like, you know, we may have forgotten something, we're not sure. Let's just see. Okay, so let's set it to be, okay, so it's kind of working. If I set it to 0, it's like blue, because that's the default kind of color I had. So to make it a bit more clear, let's just go back to where the color is, and kind of, because we hard coded it to be super blue, so let's just kind of turn that off and make it 0. And let's try this again. Okay, now you can see when, as you're painting, it kind of changes to red or dark, because I'm actually kind of just changing the red value as I go. Okay, so any questions on this? So this is very fun for me to do by myself, but you actually have to do it right now in class. So I suggest you open your laptops and try to imitate me before we proceed. What I'm going to do on my side, I'm going to just replicate this as you're working to also be for red, green, and blue, okay? So it's the same logic. Just it's kind of copy pasting. So let's do green amount, and let's do blue amount. So this is color from sliders. And now what you want to do, you want to just kind of replicate this, you know. Set blue amount, set green amount, and this will be green, this will be blue, this will be green, this will be set blue amount, will be, oh, this will be blue amount, yeah, blue amount will be blue, and green amount will be green. Okay, then you save it. And like I'm just gonna do the same thing for all the other sliders. So that will be like over here. This will be red, green amount, and this will be blue amount. Okay, so it's basically just kind of copy pasting. Just have an annoying kind of typo. Let's just change it to be blue. Okay, so that's just one part. The other part, I actually need to create the sliders and connect them again, as I did before, to the code, because otherwise it's not going to do anything. Right now I just have red working. So before I do that, let me just beautify things a bit. So we have this red slider here. Let's have it actually okay, let's actually use a red kind of slider knob to signal this is the red slider. And let me kind of replicate this. So if I click on this and click Control-C, Control-V, it basically copies it. So let me copy it again. So just gonna use it as a template. So this will be green, color slider, and this will be blue, color slider. So I'm gonna do like a couple of aesthetic stuff here. So just change it to be green, so it's like a bit nicer. And maybe drag this a bit lower. And this blue guy, also let's drag this a bit lower over here. And change this to be blue. Okay. So now I created the sliders. I beautified them a bit, so it's like red, green, and blue are clear what each slider does. Now the last step is basically connecting this slider to the code. So if you have green, you have to actually go here and go to painting. This is green, so this will be set green amount. And you go to blue. Blue should be It's kind of like very boring code, but this is necessary. Set blue amount and save. Okay. Okay, so I think we're almost there. We have the red, blue, green, and everything seems to be in order. Let's play it and see if it works. Let's change it to be red, okay, and then I set it. Then blue is working, and green is working. Okay, so it seems to be kind of working well, right? If I switch red and if I kind of mix red and green, I get yellow. So it's kind of like color theory stuff. So it's pretty cool, and so on. Any questions on this? Okay. Last thing before I kind of do a quick walkabout and to see how everyone is. Now this is very fun to do these sliders, but they're kind of missing some sort of guide. You know, people don't really know what each slider means, like just by looking at them for the first time. So what I'm gonna do is let's select these. Oh, let's select these sliders again and move them a bit. Like that. So what I want to do is I want to add buttons. So this is the first time I'm ever going to talk about buttons, but I'm going to use buttons not for actually the click, just I'm going to use them for aesthetic kind of guidance. So buttons are pretty easy also. So what you need to do is you need to have your mouse hover here, right click, UI, and then you should have buttons somewhere. So there's a couple, so this is like a kind of a important point. So Unity, more advanced versions may have different kind of options. So here I have the Text Mesh Pro option. But what I'm going to go is I'm going to go over the legacy option, legacy button. Why? Because that's the simplest thing to show you, and that will always work. And let's drag this guy here. So that's button 1. And let's change it to be the red label, something like that. And I'm going to change this button to, I want to change the text here in this button. So to do that, I need to actually kind of go into this inspector. Here, under here, I need to actually, there's like a text kind of child kind of game object that's a child of this button. I'm going to change it to be red color, okay? Or let's just call it red. And now let's just copy this again. And again. Something like that. So I apologize if it's not super cool UI or kind of, but it's just a kind of a quick kind of thing that works. And so I have these 3 buttons right now here. Now I have to change the text of these other buttons, so let's do that too. So let's call this, let's go here and change this to be, what is this, blue? This is green. And this is green label. And let's go here and change this to be blue label. And this will be blue. And now I have these buttons and the control here. So right now the buttons don't do anything. You can click on them, but it doesn't really do much. Let's make it a bit larger. Any questions on this? It's pretty straightforward stuff. Like basically add the slider, define the functions here that kind of control the slider or kind of receive some input from the slider. Link them to your painting script and link this to the slider itself. And that's it basically. So I think this is a good point to take a quick stopping point and see where everybody is at. before I continue. Okay, let's show you a drop down. So if I right click here, let's move this guy up. If I right click here, there's a UI legacy drop down. Okay, so what is a drop down? Is basically allows you to kind of select between different discrete options. So right now I only have like red, green, and blue. That's my colors, but I also want to change the kind of painting objects. Say I want to paint spheres or paint like this pre-made cube or something like that. So I want to use this drop down to select that. So let's just see how it functions before I do anything. So if I click play, you see you have option A, option B, and option C, right? So that's kind of boring, but let's change it to be like more app specific. To change it to be app specific, what I need to do is I need to kind of click on this drop down. And here I can actually change the text that the dropdown will have. So here, let's make it like sphere. This will be, I don't know, cylinder or capsule, whatever. And let's make this like a prefab. Okay. And as you can see, the text changes. So now I want to somehow use this in my painting app. So let's connect it. So this drop down, let's see. So it's discrete. So there's like there's like sphere, capsule, or prefab. There's like no continuous values. So it's based on indexes. So it's either 0 or 1 or 2. So 0 will be sphere, 1 will be capsule, and prefab will be 2. So let's just kind of to see that what we're talking about makes sense. Let's just have a function that basically receives this signal from the drop down and just prints it before we actually do anything with it. So let's say let's do public void set painting object, okay, and let's index whatever, and let's call this int drop down index, okay. And that will, right now, just going to print me the drop down debug.log drop down index. Okay, and let's see that it works. And save this. Okay, so now I have to follow the typical trick we have, and that's basically kind of here. We need to actually add the function, drag the click manager here, and here select painting and set painting object index. Okay, so I think it's connected. Let's save and see what happens. So if I change it, okay, so as you can see, as I'm changing it, I'm getting different indexes. So here I'm getting 0 for sphere, capsule, prefab is 2, capsule should be 1. Okay, yeah, so it's kind of working as I want. Let's just see it again. So sphere is 0, capsule is 1, and prefab is 2. Okay, cool. So now kind of let's connect that to the actual kind of object we're going to paint with. So to do that, I kind of I prepared like this switch statement. So so I don't know if you saw switch statement before, but this is something that is kind of useful. It's kind of like a big if, okay? So let's just change the code around a bit. So what I want to do is I have this, right now I'm just painting spheres. You see my code is like this, the test equals game object primitive blah sphere. So let's change this to only be uh, the case if it's like 0. Okay, great. So the tricky thing about this switch statements is that you have case 0, case 1, case 2, and the default case. So each case has to have some sort of code that is associated with the case. Otherwise, it's going to break. So we said like sphere is 0, right? And we said, what is it? Capsule is 1. I think capsule we said is 1, right? Capsule is 1, and prefab is 2. So let's do that. So sphere is 0. And this will be primitive type capsule. And again, break. And prefab is 2, so let's just make it break. Go back. So if you remember, we cannot use create primitive for prefabs. Prefabs are like pre-selected objects. So in like last week, we talked about instantiate. So I'm just going to reuse that code. Right now we have already here kind of I called it my best painting object. It doesn't matter. Like let's just use that. It's already in the code. So instantiate instantiate. Why do I have typos? Instantiate. Okay. And then it breaks. And so maybe like just use in default case also. Let's just use that too. Okay, let's save this. Now actually, let's see if I'm actually setting this correctly. So this is painting object index. And my function here should actually set this value correctly. Okay, save. So let's see if I play this, let's see what happens. So I have my spheres. Color is working, okay. If I change this to capsule, I should get capsules. Good, I have capsules. It seems to be nice. If I change this to prefab, I should get that weird concatenation of different cubes. And it also looks like it's good. It also looks like it's working. So overall, I'm pretty happy. So let's just recap what I did. I had this drop down. Let's change the name here. Drop down, painting shape drop down. So I had this drop down. I created like 3 options here. Option 0 is sphere. Option 1 is capsule. Option 2 is prefab. Now, next thing I did was I created a function here that basically receives a signal from the dropdown. So this function is connected to the dropdown using this onValueChange placeholder. To get this working right, I actually had to drag the click manager here, and then I selected the correct function here under painting. It's an integer. It's a function that receives an integer. Why? Because dropdowns only work with integers. Now, after I did that, and I received that. I printed it, just checked that everything is fine. Now the next thing I did, I just refactored my code slightly. So previously I had a game object test that was just spheres, but now I changed it to be kind of using the switch statement. So basically this variable here, painting object index, is basically changed from the dropdown. So if the dropdown sets it to be 0, that means it will paint spheres. If the dropdown sets it to be 1, it will paint capsules. And if it's 2, it will paint my prefab, which is exactly what I wanted to be, because that's basically the options I set here. Any questions on this? We have our drop down here, so let's move it to be let's add like a button that kind of just labels what it does, okay? So let's use this red label and just copy that, and let's just kind of change the text here to be the painting object, painting shape. So I'm just using buttons as like labels, and that'll also, let's change that to painting shape label, painting shape label. Okay, now let's add like a checkbox. So what I want to do is just show you how checkboxes work. So let's try that. So if I click on the right click here, UI, and legacy, I believe, or not legacy. The text button, drop down input field. No, where's the checkbox? Is it the toggle? Yeah, it's the toggle. Okay, so it's called a toggle. So toggle basically is like yes or no kind of option. Let's just show you how it works. So if I click like here, it just kind of either like is on or off, kind of, as you can see, on or off, on or off. So what I want to do is I want to use that also somehow. So let's just show you. Okay, so before we go there, let's talk about this this destroy function. So just to remind you, we have this destroy function that basically destroys objects after a second. If I delete it, all the objects will be just staying on screen forever, right? So what I want to do is I want to have this toggle control if the object will self-destroy or not when I'm painting, okay? So let's go to that toggle and change the text here to be self-destroy, destroy, like that. And maybe let's make it, it's kind of hard to see, so maybe let's make it bold. Let's see if we can make it bold. Maybe like bigger. How do I make it bigger? Bold. Okay, that's better. Okay, so I think this is pretty clear. So same thing as before. So I need to basically kind of connect it somehow to my script, and to do that I need to use the same same kind of flow as before. So I have a placeholder here for some sort of function. Let's just work on that. Okay. Let's just create a public bool to destroy, to self-destroy. Okay. And let's have like a host function that's gonna receive the signal from that checkbox, the toggle, and sets this to self-destroy. So it will be public void set self-destroy. Okay, and bool it to self-destroy, destroy, and this will be to self-destroy equals that. What is it complaining? This. Okay. And now let's use this in the code. Actually, before that, let's just debug this and see that everything is working. Debug log to self-destroy plus this. Let's just print it and see what happens before I actually connect it to destroy. So here's to self-destroy. this is my function here. Let's add that function again. I'm gonna drag the click manager here, set painting, and set self-destroy. Click play. Let's see if this works. Yeah, it changes it. It's good. It changes it from false to true, false to true. Okay. So it's good. It's working. So now let's just use it to set the destroy here. So in our code we have like this. So you have this destroy statement. So I can just do if this set if self destroy. Is that my function? Is that my what's my to self destroy? Okay. If this to self destroy, then I'm gonna destroy. Okay. So I just added like before I actually use this destroy statement, I'm adding like this if check to check if that's on or off. So let's check that. Painting. Let's click. Okay. So it seems like it's working. Okay, it's kind of working. What I would do is I would. Okay, actually, it's pretty good. It's always working. Just to be like sure, let's see what the default value here is. Is on, yes. It's always on. And let's also set it to be true in the beginning, and that's it. So any questions on this toggle? So we saw drop down, sliders, toggles. Any questions on that? No? Okay. Let's again play around with it again. Okay. So one thing I want you to pay attention to is I'm painting these spheres. My screen is getting very cluttered, right? Especially if my set self-destroy is off. And like I'm just getting more and more and more stuff over here. So what I want to do is I want to have some sort of button that basically destroys all the objects, whatever I have on the screen. Okay? So first of all, there's like one trick I need to do before I do that. So you notice when I'm painting objects, they're kind of directly added to this kind of list of objects. So I want to kind of organize a bit so they're not added directly on the top level of the hierarchy here of the game objects. I wanted to make it so they're like a child object of this this click manager. So it's like a small trick, but it's nice. So what I would do is here when you have this code here that does your painting, right? You have like this where is it? Game object test, blah blah, and here is where you create the test. So what I would do is I would just add before the self-destroy, I would do like test.parent.gameObject. Test.parent. No, test.gameObject.parent. Oh, test.transform. Yeah, like that. So I would just set the parent of my test to be by my current script kind of holder, which is the click manager, which is like an empty. It's kind of complicated. Let me show you, and it'll make much more sense when I play this. So this dot game object. Okay, let's see if this works. Dot transform. Okay. Let's see if this works. Then like do anything bad. Okay, so it's working. So what I wanted to show you, like here, as I'm painting, all my spheres are added not here on the kind of the top level hierarchy. They're added to this click manager. So if I change it to say capsule, then all my capsules are going to be added here, and so on. Okay. Let's just. This is kind of annoying to me. Let me just move this here, so it's always on start. Where's start? So that's always true in the beginning. Okay. What I want to do is I want to actually add that button to self-destroy everything. Okay, so let's add that button. So right-click here, UI, legacy, button. Okay, and let's move it like here. And let's kind of make it very clear what it does. So let's just say it's destroy everything. Everything with an exclamation mark. And it will be also bold. Okay. Now I want to have this button basically delete all the shapes that I'm painting if they're still on screen. So let's again, the workflow is create a button, like a host function here. So public void destroy everything. Okay. And let's just print this for now to see that it actually is working. Log destroying everything. Okay. And again, the workflow is the same as always. In button, I have to go here to my on click plus, drag my click manager here on the function, click painting. Let's see if I have that right function actually. What did I forget? I forgot something. It's not working well. Public, where is right everything? Why is it complaining here? Public, this is public. Maybe I didn't save. Let's save this. Okay. This point is where I ask you, what did I do wrong? Any ideas? So you can clearly see I did something wrong, because if I create this button, okay, this is the destroy everything button. Destroy everything. Okay, and I have this host function here as I destroy everything, that button I have, right? And I'm not getting it here.
The function set.
The what?
Is the function not set in the editor? Oh, I see.
Yeah, I have the function, yeah. So something is missing. Any ideas what I did I do wrong? No. So like, there's a couple of ways to debug this. So one thing, you can just Google, okay, how do I get a button working with my script? Another way you can do it is you can actually, you can just kind of try, different things. Yeah, so here, like, I can see a problem, because if I click on this click manager, and basically the function, sorry, what?
Painting.
It doesn't come up, so you can see
no,
that.
it's there.
Where?
It's there under cancel invoke. Destroy everything 1
Oh, okay. So okay, thank you. So we actually found it. Thanks. Okay. So okay. So another problem that we have that sometimes the function names are kind of hiding. So it's actually here. Okay, cool. So let's save this. Play.
Oh, you have to add it again though, because it reset it when you exited the.
Yeah. So it's painting. Try everything. Okay. So it does work. See, it prints out stuff. So let me show you how what's the trick to actually get it to connect to that. Well, so the idea is basically okay. Let me just play this again. So you have this. Let's cancel self destroy. So you have this you have all these objects here that are now on a click manager. You know, if it's like a prefab or whatever, everything is going to lie in here. So the idea is basically you want to iterate over all the child game objects of this click manager and destroy them. Okay, that's the idea. So it's going to be some sort of for loop, okay? So like for game object child in this transform. So how do you iterate? Anyone remembers?
I did it differently.
Okay, what's your solution?
I did it as I'm trying to do it fast. I did it for int I equals 0. I is less than transform.child count.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
I plus plus, and then destroy transform.get child with I.
Yeah. Okay.
Dot game object.
Yeah. So that will work, but I want a simpler way.
Yeah.
Let me just write it down, and we'll get back to it in maybe today or early next class. So, what we want to do is to iterate over all the child objects and call destroy. You know, for each. That's what we want to do. Okay. Now, like you can try to figure out on your own how to do this. So what if you do this dot game object, that gives you the current game object. Okay. Now there should be a command here that retrieves all the children, right? So now I am not. I can like. There's an easy way, so I can't see the easy way right now, but let's leave it like kind of this and maybe complete this next week with the easy way, but I'll let you figure this out on this specific command. But I do have something else I need to show you before we finish up today, okay? So any questions on this? Any questions before we move on? Okay. So what I want to show you before we finish up, very important things for your project. So if you look here on the screen, we have this 960 on 600 resolution, right? So in your project number 1, I think we ask you somewhere to set this up in advance. So what you would have if it's not set up in advance, you have something called free aspect. Okay. Which is not good because basically that means it will change the experience of the user based on the kind of screen they have. So doesn't work well for kind of different devices and so on. So in this class, we're trying to force you all to kind of use the same resolution. So you can select different resolutions. So for example, here I can select like a 1609, or I can select full HD, and you can see everything is kind of small, or I can select like 4:3, which is like an old school kind of resolution you would have like on a CRT monitor. But in this class, we kind of like you to use 960 on 540 resolution. Okay. So this is something you need to set up. It's very easy to set up. You just have to click here on the right hand on this thumbnail here. The next thing I want to talk about is on lights and camera. I know there was like a assignment, there was like an online learning module you had at home, but let me just talk about it quickly. So we have two types of cameras in Unity. We have an orthographic camera, so let me show you what that means. And we have a perspective camera. So orthographic camera is basically kind of like everything doesn't have depth. It's kind of like a Mario 2D kind of world. And this is like an example. So here this is kind of, you see this tank kind of moving. It's got some sort of a game, and you can see the depth of that column, right? So you can see basically kind of the shadow and the depth, and you can see how tall that column is and so on. But if I switch to orthographic camera, which it's going to switch in a second, now suddenly that you cannot see the depth of the column. So everything is kind of the same kind of distance from the viewer. So that's the camera. So let me exemplify this like quickly here. So right now we have like this perspective camera. Okay, that's the default camera. But if I change it, and you can see like that with this camera, I can basically move this object like kind of inside or outside. But if I change the camera here to be orthographic, everything will look a bit weird. So once it's orthographic and I click paint, now with this cube I can still move it like from side to side, but if I move it like in or if I move it like to be a bit more deeper, it doesn't change anything. So it doesn't matter how deep something is, it's always kind of going to show up in the same kind of depth with this sort of camera, which is like a trick people use in like 2D games. Same thing for the cylinder. Like I cannot move it to be more kind of inside. And it's also the same thing will happen if you paint. So let's paint stuff. So this is painting with the orthographic kind of camera. So there's really no way, like, so this is the distance slider. So even if I want to paint things further away, it doesn't work. It's always going to look kind of the same. So the only way you can really control object sizes is actually scale them. So the camera doesn't, so using the Z-axis doesn't really work here. Whereas if you change this to be perspective, so now everything is kind of back to normal. So as you paint, you can actually switch and see kind of things a bit deeper or kind of closer. Okay, so that's number one thing I want to talk about cameras. Number two I want to talk about is lights. So in your projects, you have an option to use lights. Lights are kind of like a game object, like any other game object. In Unity, we have different types of lights. These are basically, we may have another one, but we're just going to focus on these three. So we either have like a directional light, which is kind of like the sun, a point light, which is kind of like that bulb, or like a spotlight, which is kind of like that kind of reading lamp. So there's like physics and math, but what I want you to focus on is this kind of illustration. So a point light is basically just radiating from like a certain point everywhere. A spotlight is kind of like radiating in a specific cone to like a certain direction. And the directional light is kind of like the sun. It will kind of come everywhere in the same kind of fashion, no matter where you are. And this is like just the example of how it would be. Now in Unity, by default, we have this directional light. So let me turn this plane on. So you can see the shadow. Okay, so this is my plane. I'm just using it to show you the shadow here. So if I have my cylinder here move, you can actually see see the shadow of the cylinder as it's moving using this directional light. Same thing for the cube. If I move it, you can see the shadow of the cube. And if I switch it to be like point light, then everything kind of changes. So you can notice immediately everything is kind of dark because I don't have the direction light anymore working. And my point light is basically, you can see it's only going to work very close to its actually 3D location. So everything's kind of dark and only works close to its 3D location. There are tricks to make it stronger. So what I can do is basically you see all these numbers here. I can change it to be like more higher intensity. That basically kind of shines. It's kind of like a stage light. So that makes everything kind of stronger in this area, like light-wise. And there's also other kind of parameters here I can work with, like, all kinds of different parameters. It doesn't really matter. But you can play around with it depending on what you're trying to do. So one idea for you, for example, for your project is you can, instead of paint kind of these 3D objects, you can paint like light sources. That could be kind of a cool idea. Basically, it starts dark, and maybe just painting point lights and using the point lights to kind of do some sort of effect or some sort of experience. Let's bring that back to directional light. Spotlight is kind of the same thing. I can make it a bit more intense, but it just shines in a specific kind of area. Any questions on that? Okay, so if there's no questions, I think we can finish at this point. And I'll be here if you have any questions that you want to ask in private.